Look, I love this city and I love this state. They have to focus on violent crime that's taking place outside. You have a new form of crime now. You have migrant crime. Migrants are trying to beat up our police officers. They're trying to do things that we've never seen before, actually. We are going to have a problem with, I call it Biden migrant crime, because you have millions of people came into this place, this country that has been so badly hurt. And they're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. So you have violent migrant crime, and they're after me for doing nothing wrong.
Except, of course, for the things that he did that was wrong. So don't worry about the crimes of the wealthiest, most powerful people in the country. They should get a pass so long as anyone who is poor commits crimes. I think that's how populism works, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, there he's talking about Biden migrant crime. That's what I call it, because if you think crime is bad, wait until a brown person does it. So you get back to the racism that he's always run on. And I want to be very clear about this. So what he's trying to play into is the fact that there's a lot of conversation about crime in this country, particularly being perpetrated by migrants, particularly in places like New York, where he's speaking from. But I also want to be clear that while, yes, there are instances of that crime and they understandably get covered, simply because something is being covered more by the media doesn't mean it's being covered more because there's more of it. That's not actually how reality works. For you to believe that, you would have to believe that every newsroom at a newspaper is a perfect representation of reality, which is not generally how Donald Trump talks about the media. That's a level of confidence and faith in the media that he doesn't usually have. So to be very clear, and we're gonna dive into this much more on tomorrow's show, but the migrant crime wave that's being talked about so much is not actually supported by the data on these different sorts of property and violent crime. There are high profile cases. And the thing is, the fact that it's being talked about means that if an event happens, they're gonna cover it because people are talking about it and they wanna read about it. That doesn't mean more of it's actually happening. And as you'll see when we do the analysis tomorrow, yeah, there's crime, there's robberies and there's cars being stolen and there are rapes and there are assaults and there are murders. And there are way less of them than there was 10 or 20 years ago in New York, despite the Biden crime wave that is supposedly happening. So to quote an intellectual gladiator, facts don't care about your feelings. And you may feel that it's worse now, but that isn't actually what the data is demonstrating. I will say though, there is a type of crime that is way more common than it was just a couple of years ago. And that is threats to US federal judges and also prosecutors has exploded in just the past couple of years, more than double since 2021. And these are the serious sorts of threats that actually merit an investigation, more than double from just 2 years ago. But that probably has nothing to do with anything having to do with Donald Trump. So I'm gonna give him a pass. Trey, what do you think?
Well, on the migrant crime thing, I mean, like you said, just because even if it does start getting covered more, doesn't mean it's actually worse or whatnot. But none of that really matters for these people because they're going to see it wherever they want to see it, whether it's there or not. I don't know if you saw it, but earlier this week I saw this clip that was getting passed around. It was from Hannity's show, because obviously I ain't watching Hannity's show, but I saw this clip from it where he was interviewing this dude on the streets of New York. This guy was like a
guardian angel,
Long Island boomer meatball. Yeah, guardian angel. That's another way to put it. But yeah, he has like his little citizens arrest group or whatever. But he's talking to this Goomba on the street, and he's like live on the air. The guy's like, "We got one right here. We got a violent migrant right here. We got him. Good job, boys. Top-notch work." And they pan the camera around, and it turns out it's just like some brown guy from Queens who's like was born there and isn't even from another country and also wasn't doing anything. But then like live on Fox News, they're like rounding him up just for, having a Mexican-y sounding last name or whatever that was happening. But they're gonna
100%.
So, that's going to keep going. They're going to remain convinced that that's a real problem. But also, I mean, like you said, that has less than nothing to do with Donald Trump's crimes and, misdemeanors anyway. But they love whataboutism. And then whenever, when they start talking about how Biden's brain don't work, and then we're like, well, Trump's brain don't work, and then they accuse us of whataboutism and whatnot. And it's like, well, they're not exactly the same. At least those two things are directly related. And the whole point is that, Trump's brain is bad in worse ways. Also, he's got 91 felony charges, and that makes it a relevant conversation. When you're talking about Trump's crimes and they just bring up that, there are violent migrants storming the cities and everything. It's two completely unrelated things. It's just look over there, stay mad over there. Don't pay attention to what's going on over there.
Yeah. It's not be mad about both of these things. It's don't be mad about this, just be mad about that instead.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And look, as you pointed out, I'm not saying that there's no violent crime in New York. We saw those guys on Hannity assaulting someone. So clearly some violent crime is going on. But also question of Donald Trump, if the Biden migrant crime is so bad, wait until you hear about this former president that tanked a border security bill. You're gonna be so mad, Donald Trump, when you hear about that. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.